Always happy to share the good music of David Foster here on the Pan American Express. My name is John Murphy, and I'm here today to begin a brand new series on the channel. It's an experiment here in media at Eastern to tell stories about the many ways that people engage the community, arts programs, special civic programs. Throughout the year, life is very busy on our campus, and we're doing a cooperative effort now with WECS Radio, the good folks at the Eastern Television Channel, Channel 195, which is on the Charter Cable Channel. It's their official public channel, and the Center for Community Engagement. And all three of us are going to do a half-an-hour series throughout the year, once a week, during my radio show, to share all these great stories with you, to let you connect to all the people and activities happening here as they try to reach out to you. And for our first program, it's very appropriate to focus our time on the good work of the Center for Community Engagement. They've been working here at the university for 7 years, doing an incredible amount of work, and currently about 1,000 students contribute 20,000 hours of volunteer energy in 35 programs in our area, including local schools and a number of community organizations. It's a phenomenal amount of work, and it's all about connecting students with community, service learning, and faculty engagement. And we're going to have our conversation today in two parts. We're going to begin with Kim Silcox. She is the director at the center. She was there when it was born 7 years ago. And also Emily Cameron is with us today. She is finishing her term as a VISTA worker, but she began her involvement as a student and just grew in her activity, and she's going to share her story and the work that she's done. And then we'll take a short break and come back with the Associate Director, Kamisha Wilmot, who's recently joined the staff, and we'll talk about things as we look ahead to the coming year. But first of all, I think it would be appropriate, Kimberly, if you would start us out with a little overview for folks that are still learning about the mission and purpose of the center and how it connects so closely to the purpose and mission of Eastern as a school.
Thank you, John. We really appreciate being here and talking about all the work that we do in the community. When we started the Center for Community Engagement, as you said, 7 years ago, it developed out of the strategic plan that President Elsa Nunez, Eastern's president, started to develop when she first arrived on campus. And when she shared her vision for what the university could be, she really inspired us to think outside the box about taking what Eastern students were already doing regarding community service and really broadening it, making it more impactful, and make both for people in the community and for our students and our faculty. So that was our mission and our charge, to develop a center that would really be a hub for community engaged activities in the local community and beyond, although our focus really has been in the Windham community. There are so many opportunities here to work with great partners in this community that we feel like our efforts should be focused here.
And one thing I want to mention is the website. The university has a wonderful website with information about the entire school, but the center has its own section with lots of information. So if you want to connect to us after the program ends, you can go to easternct.edu, which is the main website, and then do a /CCE, and you'll be able to find out about all the programs and the good work as we go. Now, Emily, let me bring you in before we go too much farther now, because the thing I admire most about you is your energy and enthusiasm and how you transformed a basic student experience into a leadership role, and then you took the plunge to get into VISTA. And it'd be nice for you to share how that process happened. Maybe other students might get the same idea of how this could change their life in the same way that it did you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I started working with the CCE, the Center for Community Engagement, as a freshman. I was involved in a class called Joyful Teaching. It was a first-year experience class, and part of the class was that we had to do a service learning project in a school of some sort. So I got involved with Puente Sa Futuro, the after-school program at Windham Middle School, and I liked it, and Kim saw me volunteer and said that I was a great volunteer and asked me if I'd like a job. And of course I said yes, because every college student needs money. So I got a job working in the CCE, and I've been there ever since. That was 5 years ago now.
Right, and you became a team leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for other students, could you mention the different ways students can get involved in the center at different levels of time commitment and perhaps different areas of experience?
Yeah, well, there's many different ways you can get involved. As a student, you usually start by volunteering. You can do special events, which are one-time events. If you can't make that whole semester commitment for our community programs, which are our more in-depth volunteer service activities, which are usually like once a week, maybe twice a week for an hour, ranging between an hour and two, in various different aspects of the community. But you make that once a week commitment for the rest of the semester. And then eventually, after volunteering for a while, you can work your way up and apply to be a student leader at the center and work there.
Now, Kim, maybe I can ask you how students connect the good work they do at the center for their academic programs or internships or service learning, because there's many ways that students can invest their volunteer energy and also get something back for their own programs and their own personal growth.
That's a very important aspect of this work that we try to emphasize with students. We really want students to volunteer because they enjoy it and they have fun, but that they also see a connection between that work and their future. So we ask them to think about how the work that they're doing relates to their academic program. Many students have volunteered in a program and have ended up changing their major, either out of something that they thought they were going to be interested in, and then after volunteering found that it wasn't their real interest, or into a program that they now realized was something that was very important to them. So we really do encourage them to think about the relationship between their volunteer work and their academics all the time. We also work with faculty to encourage service learning, or what's also called community-based learning, so that students who are involved in a specific class can apply what they're learning specifically in that class to real-life experiences in the community. So those are two ways that we encourage students to be involved both in the community and with their future.
You know, one of the things that I love most about the program is your house, because you are actually at the edge of campus right in the community. And it's a great story of how you moved from inside an institutional building and with some office space into a home. Could you talk about how that project happened and what it took for you to set up this beautiful green Victorian house right on the edge of South Campus?
Yeah, President Nunez felt it was very important, as we were developing the Center for Community Engagement, to have a presence in the community. And so the university rehabbed one of the gorgeous old Victorian ladies that are so present in Willimantic, and moved the Center for Community Engagement to that house so that we would be more visible in the community. We're right across the street from the Wyndham Public Schools administrative building. We are on a major street, on Prospect Street, and so we are really happy to be closer to the community than in the middle of the campus, where people from outside of Eastern might not know that we were there.
Right. And also, Emily, one thing I want to cover while you're with us is the VISTA program and why you chose VISTA in the first place and how it works and how other students might get involved and find out how that extra bit of community work and the time that you put in as a very hard-working, low-paid community member is a lifetime payback for you in terms of your own growth and where you want to go in your path.
Yeah, well, my VISTA journey kind of started my freshman year when I started volunteering through the Center for Community Engagement. I grew up in a large family of many teachers where all the women were teachers. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to teach 12th grade calculus, and that was my life plan. And I started volunteering. I worked with the Puentes after school program. And I realized I couldn't really see myself in a school all day long in the same classroom. And I loved working with kids, but I would rather do it in a more hands-on community aspect. So I actually changed from, being just a math and education major to just studying math. And my senior year, I wasn't really sure if I was going to go on to grad school and study education, but I was kind of torn because I always wanted to be a teacher, but then I wasn't really sure. I liked the higher ed aspect, but I really loved working with the community. So I thought that the VISTA program at Eastern was a really best of both worlds. I got to work with the higher ed community, so everybody at Eastern as well as everybody in the community, specifically the Wyndham Public Schools. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for me. And VISTA has really changed my life. I've met some of my best friends who were also VISTAs in my cohort through Connecticut Campus Compact. And it's really just an eye-opening experience. We don't get paid very much at all. Eastern is wonderful, and they give me free housing, which has been such a great help. But, to really put yourself out there and work for no money and endless hours, which I love working hours and hours on end. But, it is really a great experience.
And I think as part of your stipend, you also get health coverage, which is a big issue these days, right? That's a major challenge if people are either too old to be under their parents' plan or on their own period. This is a real expense today.
Yes, it certainly is.
Yeah.
I'd like to add, John, if I may, that one of the real benefits to having Emily serve as an AmeriCorps Vista member this year was the fact that she did have so much experience working in the community. Sometimes we have Vistas, so Vistas make a commitment for 1 year. They can stay an additional year if they choose to, but most Vistas serve 1 year because it is a big commitment both of time and of living on next to no income. So but we really appreciated having Emily here because she had such a tremendous involvement with the community as a student, and that enabled her to really be a strong role model for other Eastern students. She could not only say, here's a good thing you should do because it makes a difference, but she could say, it's a good thing to do, and I know it's good because I did it myself. And so she was able to have an impact on both our student leaders and our volunteers that I think somebody coming in without that experience would not have been able to share. I also wanted to say that her VISTA project was in developing a specific tutoring program at Wyndham Middle School that really, really took off, and we had a much higher number of students volunteering in that program than we had anticipated, and that really is completely attributable to Emily's hard work. When she says she loves to work long hours, I can attest to that. She was really able to put in her heart and soul during this past year, and we really benefited and appreciated it.
I know. If we turned off the lights, the room would glow, I think, with the energy you bring. And maybe, Emily, one other thing I wanted to have you share is, out of all your experiences, maybe one or two that you'll take away working with kids or a program, things that burned into your soul that really made a difference for you that you'll remember, some experience or a bright moment, and maybe something that somebody considering this might not think about, maybe something you learned that you didn't expect, or something that they might not think about as a new person but will appreciate later when they've taken the plunge the way you have.
So I guess the most, my favorite experience as a Vista was starting to direct the Puentes a Futuro summer program. We have a summer program every year at Eastern where we bring middle school students from Wyndham Middle School to Eastern and do various different activities all over campus. We do sports and swimming. There's always a math and an English class aspect to it. But I'm really getting to know the kids this year and seeing them grow throughout the short 4-week program was really great. Working with such a great dedicated staff of Eastern college students who took their summer and as their summer job where they didn't get paid very much to stay and, help these kids have a great summer and really work on their academics and learn all different things. That was probably the best experience. As for a new Vista or someone just recently graduating college, maybe not sure what to do, I would highly suggest Vista. Like I said, I've met some of my best friends there, people who I will probably ask to be in my wedding. It's really great to meet so many different people who are willing to work for nothing just because they love to do what they love to do. So like as a Vista, you're a 24-hour volunteer, and I know Kim's mentioned I work forever all the time, but it's not work when you're doing something that you really love. So I really love it, and it's not work to me, so I don't mind staying at the office until whenever I need to get stuff done. And I think that's a sentiment that all Vistas share. You don't do Vista just because you're bored. You do it because that's something you really love to do, and you want to make a difference in the community. So, yeah.
You know, I think when you tap into that energy, you'll never be a slave to an employer when you're living just for the next paycheck because of the money, but it's what you do that brings the money in, and that's the part that goes way beyond a college degree. The college degree enables things, but without that spirit, you're still working for somebody else and not yourself.
Absolutely. Right? I have to give a shout out to Eastern, too, because my liberal arts degree has taken me so far, and I may not ever be a specific mathematician with my math degree, but just my education and my experience here, 50% of my experiences comes from the CCE specifically, and applying all of the stuff that I've learned in various different classes to, just living life in the community, working with people outside of Eastern, working with people outside of your field. It's been really invaluable, and I'm really grateful to have gone here.
Well, blessings to you, Emily, and it's been great to work with you during the year as well. I wish you a fantastic next step in your adventure, and thank you for all the work that you've done here to make a difference.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we're coming up on the halfway point of this new radio TV series about Eastern. We're going to take a short musical break and come back and have someone join us. Kamisha Wilmot has recently joined the staff at the center. She's the associate director, and we'll be looking ahead to plans for the coming year, including a faculty engagement conference, and we'll talk about some of the community programs that the CCE touches as well. So we'll come right back after the short musical break. Stay with us. Well, we're back now for the second half of our new program about Eastern. In case you've just joined us, this is a co-production of the Center for Community Engagement, the Eastern TV Channel 195 on the Charter Cable Public Access System, which reaches 17 towns in our region, and WECS Radio. We're preparing this as a first episode of a new series of programs that will run throughout the year, giving a kind of a spotlight on all kinds of people and activities and events here at Eastern. And we've had a change of guests now. I'm very happy to have our second guest join us. Kamisha Wilmot has recently joined the staff of the CCE. She is the associate director, although she's been here at Eastern for many, many years beforehand. And we're continuing with the director, Kim Silcox, once again. So maybe, Kamisha, you could start us off as our newest family member with your first impressions of joining the staff and some of your experiences as you plan ahead for the new year.
Yes, thank you. Again, my name is Kamisha Wilmot. I'm the Associate Director for the CCE. I've been at Eastern now for 7 years, and in the 7 years, I've been in 5 different departments. I've been in housing, advising, career services, the Intercultural Center. Now I've joined the CCE 2 months ago. And I must say that my experience has been so impactful. Just going out into the community and meeting with our community partners and hearing the influence and the aspect in terms of the input our volunteers have on the programs have been extremely incredible. I was just talking at a training, and I said that our volunteers really have an impact on our community. Our community partners rely on our volunteers to come in and make a difference. And it's such a great compliment of the liberal arts education, the classroom experience in terms of this is what we're learning in the classroom, being able to take that outside into the community. I've been really just impacted by the work that we're doing. I've never been in a homeless shelter, and last week I visited a No Freeze, and the work that's going on in a No Freeze shelter it was just so powerful for me. And being able to just sit there and think to myself, wow, I'm in such a privileged space in life to know that I've never had the opportunity to even be in a homeless shelter. And the type of work our volunteers are doing in the shelter is just profound and very impactful. I think that the CCE has been doing an amazing job. I tell Kim all the time, hats off to you, because I don't know how you did this operation for years by yourself, because it sure is a lot of work. And being able to just touch on the different areas in terms of industry. Our students are getting that out of classroom experience, but they also get that career readiness. If you're interested in working with elementary schools, you have the opportunity here. If you're interested in working with the elderly population, the opportunity sits here, and also for adults and so forth. Yesterday we visited a prison in Uncasville, and just the experience there at first, I was very excited to go. I told Kim, I said, I can't wait, woo, I'm going into a prison. And typically people are not excited about walking into a prison, but when I got there, just to look at the prisoners and see the way that they live, I remember one of the individuals went towards opening the door, and we realized the door was locked. And even the privilege of walking through doors every day and they're open, it was just, just left me so speechless. And the CCE is doing an incredible job in the community, and our volunteers, Eastern volunteers, are making a difference in the community. So I've just been blown away by this wonderful operation that's going on in the CCE, and I've only been there for 2 months. I'm very excited about learning more about the community partners and how the CCE can continue to impact, and also developing new relationships with partners we haven't worked with before.
I remember last semester, one of the students who was in the PD Green program at the prison when it was in Brooklyn said that it really changed her when she helped the guy that was inside finish his GED.
Yes.
That she went to his graduation and shed a tear. Here's a person that had a bad break, made some mistakes, wanted to make a new life, and students at Eastern went there, helped him get his GED to move ahead. And that's kind of what you're talking about. That's
Absolutely.
Pretty magical stuff.
Absolutely. It's very transformative.
Yeah.
Being able to see people and say, hey, we're reading about this in class, or this may be a case study, but actually sit down and speak to someone that's living in a homeless shelter or someone that's incarcerated. That's a very impactful experience for our students.
Right. Maybe, Kim, you could briefly run down just some of the other community programs that are touched by CCE and give students a chance to connect with all kinds of social and economic situations.
Sure. We have programs in all of the schools in Windham. So there are 5 elementary schools, and there actually we'll have a 6th after-school program this year, which maybe we can talk about in a few minutes, our new Vista project. We have programs during the school day in Windham Middle School. That's a tutoring program. We have an after-school programs at Windham Middle School. We have an in-school tutoring at Windham High School, as well as the after-school program there. We have programs for teaching adults English as a second language through EastCon. We have programs at a couple of different nursing facilities, both St. Joseph Living Center and Vanderman Place, both of which are in Windham. We have programs at the Covenant Soup Kitchen, and as Kamisha mentioned, the No Freeze Hospitality Center, and the Beckish Senior Center in Columbia. We have had a program at the Tri-County ARC, which is a program in Columbia, but just over the Willimantic border, for adults with developmental disabilities, and many other programs that when we find either a community partner who is looking for volunteers or a student or students that have a particular interest, we go out and try and find a program for them. The prison program is one example of that. We started out at Brooklyn Correctional Institution because there were students that were studying criminology and really wanted to have that experience, and we connected with a gentleman who has started this PD Green tutoring program in Connecticut, and that program really grew over the years that we were at Brooklyn. Now that we're moving to Radgowski, as Kamisha mentioned, we really see that as a real opportunity to expand, and we're working directly with Professor Nicholas Simon in making this opportunity open to his criminology students to, again, tie back to that academic experience.
In fact, let's take a second, since you mentioned Nicholas, that folks should mark down the date. Friday, November 18th is a very special day here on campus. The center is planning a faculty engagement concert. Well, it's a concert of sorts, but it's a conference where faculty can get involved and share the connection they have between their academic work, their work with students, and students' success on their academic programs. So without giving us all the details, could you mention what the conference is about and the whole idea that you're talking about all these community programs are giving ways for students to connect their academic learning to community service at the same time?
One of the aspects of our operating plan that's so important is connecting faculty to community opportunities. Many faculty would do this kind of work if they knew what was available to them and if there were opportunities for their students to get there easily. And so that's what the Center for Community Engagement provides to the faculty. This conference is intended to showcase the work that faculty are currently doing out in the community. We have several faculty that have had long-standing opportunities for their students to be involved, and so for them to share what they have done, the impact that they have seen on their own students, and to give faculty an opportunity to brainstorm about ways that they could get their own classes involved out in our local community. That's what the conference is meant for. We'll also have some people from some faculty from Central Connecticut State University who have talked about their experiences in bringing community engagement or service learning to their students, and just to sort of share a little different perspective to give our faculty something to chew on.
Yeah, once again, something I'd like to do to give some contact information if you want to follow up on the things we're talking about today. Go to the website, easternct.edu/CCE. You'll find information there about all the programs we're talking about today and the conference when the schedule is more defined, but there's a lot of information there for community people to connect to and students as well. So that's a good resource. And if you're not a web person, just give a phone call. Irene would love to talk to you at 860-465-0090, 465-0090. Now, I think, Kamisha, one thing you wanted to share today was you had a real success at a recent meeting about housing here at Eastern, and you were going to talk about that. So maybe you could share some of the thoughts about that and how that's going to help the center do more with what it has.
Definitely. We just came back from the hall director training, and I pretty much just talked about my experience in terms of learning about the community partners. But I'm excited about the new upcoming housing requirement for our students. So that's pretty much it. We already talked about that in terms of the impactful experiences I've had with the community partners and how important it is for hall directors to know that the students are making a difference and the residents are making a difference, and so are the RAs. And they were pretty receptive to that conversation.
One of the things that was so helpful having Kamisha at the training is that she can speak to the hall directors from personal experience, because she was a hall director, and so she knows all of the ins and outs of that job and the requirements and the expectations and the pressures and so on. So for them to be able to hear from her about how important she thinks this work is, I think was very helpful for them to see that maybe it's something that they need to think about in a different way. They have a lot of pressures on them, a lot of expectations, and to fit community service into an already very busy schedule is sometimes a challenge. So having Kamisha as a resource, somebody who can talk the talk and walk the walk, I think will be very helpful for them.
And you wanted to mention, too, a new VISTA initiative here. This would be a good time to share the good news as we look ahead to the coming year.
We're very happy to have our next VISTA, who is an Eastern grad. Her name is Simone Jones McCarthy. She is just starting today. Today's her first day on the job, and we are looking forward to having her work with Windham Public Schools to develop a new after-school program at the West Avenue Community Center here in Willimantic. This will be sort of a satellite program of the Sweeney Elementary School after-school program, but for the children who live in the West Avenue community. There's a community center there that's part of the Willimantic Housing Authority complex, and they have offered that space to Windham Public Schools. And Simone will be working with Windham Public Schools staff to develop that program to meet the needs of the children in that community. Many of those children don't go to the after-school programs at the schools because there's no transportation provided afterwards, and at the end of the program it's dark in the wintertime, so the families don't think it's safe for the children to be walking in the dark. So if we can open a program for them in their neighborhood, it's a great opportunity for the children to develop the skills, to get help with their homework, to learn about the different programs that will be offered. The other part of this new program that I think is very exciting is it's going to be a sort of a prequel to the Wyndham Middle School Puentes al Futuro, or Bridges to the Future program.
Right.
So that program is for middle school students and helps the children learn about the social and historical and cultural strengths of this community and of their own communities. And this program at the West Avenue Community Center will be called the First Bridge as a way to showcase that it is for the elementary children to learn about their own cultures, to be proud of who they are, and to build their understanding of cultures in the Willimantic community, be proud of their academic success, and then as they go into middle school, they can become part of the Puentes program.
I guess we have a couple minutes to go in our first program in this series. Maybe we haven't mentioned Jumpstart yet, and that's a huge program that involves lots of energy and lots of kids. Could you talk about that? I know we've had a recent change. Allison has moved on after doing a fantastic job, and we haven't mentioned that yet. That's yet another way for people to connect.
Yes, Jumpstart is an early literacy program. It's also an AmeriCorps program. So students who participate and make the commitment to complete 300 hours of service in a year receive an education award through the AmeriCorps program, similar to the VISTA program.
Right.
We will have a new director of that program. Her name is Megan O'Brien. She actually starts this week, and hopefully you can have her on your show in the future, John.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
We would look forward to having that happen. She will be working with about 30 Eastern students who will work in 2 preschool programs in the Wyndham community, at the Wyndham Willimantic Child Care Center and at the New Heights program out in the Wyndham Heights housing community. So those students learn, and they have a structured curriculum where they go out and provide literacy training for the children, and the students really love it. I've been really surprised at the amount of commitment that the Eastern students are willing to make. 300 hours is a lot of time when you're a full-time student, and we every year we get those students who complete those hours and are really able to articulate the impact that they feel that they've had on the community and that the experience has had on them.
Right. Well, I guess I want to give you both a final question to kind of close our first program off today, focusing on the CCE. Is, since you've both been here for a number of years, from when you first came to Eastern until now, what do you think some of the major changes have been in Eastern, or its relationship to the community, or the quality of student activity here? Anything that you've noticed during your years from when you first came to 2016? Any thoughts on that before we wrap up?
I would say one of the things that I've really seen that has been such a great change is that students are now volunteering because they want to, not because they have to. In the past, there was a requirement for students to stay in the residence halls, that they complete 4 hours each semester, and there was not really a connection between the student activity and the community. It was just a checklist, and this is one of the things I have to do, and let me get it over with.
Right.
And it became a real hardship on our community partners, because, as students will often do, they waited to the last minute, and then they're running down to the soup kitchen or wherever trying to get these hours done. And it wasn't about having a positive experience, it was about getting the hours completed. So we have completely changed that focus, and the students really now do the hours because it's not about doing hours, it's about having an experience, and the hours really are secondary.
Right. And now, Kamisha, how about your version of that?
I would say, also being a graduate of the institution, the way the students are involved, they embody the liberal arts education. And to see our students out in our community and see our students being involved, not just with the CCE, but also with clubs and organization, they're truly invested in this community. We had a meeting last week with Wyndham Middle Principal, and she said something that was so powerful to me. She said, Eastern students stand out. There's something about Eastern students that they're very committed to the community and committed to the work they want to do. And we learned that here, being on this campus, and both professionally and personally, being a student here, I must say the impact that a community Eastern has on the students, it does change their lives.
Well, that's a really good note to end our first program on. I want to thank Kim Silcox, the director of the Center for Community Engagement. Also, Kamisha Wilmot's been with us, the associate director. And before the break, we had Emily Cameron. She was the VISTA worker and staff member for many years. Thank you both for all the good work you do throughout the year, and I'll look forward to continuing our stories as we move ahead into the semester. But thanks for a great start for our series.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, John.
Okay, so we're going to close the program, and I want to thank once again the good folks at Eastern Television and WECS for helping us produce this series, which is live on the radio on WECS. It's recorded for television broadcast on Channel 195 on the Eastern official channel in our region, covering 17 towns in the Charter region. And we'll continue this series throughout the year, hopefully to tell many, many stories of all the programs. The arts programs are just exploding with the new facility. There's many, many fine things happen, and we're going to do more and more storytelling and getting more and more local content on the channel to help connect Eastern to all the people in our region. So we thank you for listening or watching, whatever you're doing, and I thank you very much. We'll see you next time for our second edition. You take care, and we'll take a short break and come back and continue with our radio show, Pan American Express.